Real Madrid traveled to England today. This is the final squad that made it to London for the first leg. Tchouaméni is suspended, Ferland Mendy is not back from injury, and Dani Ceballos is back to training with the first team, but he was not fit enough to make it for the squad for the first leg. But it's likely from different sources that I'm hearing within Spain that Ceballos may start the second leg. Another really important talking point in this game is if Camavinga, Rüdiger, Modric, or Vinicius pick up a yellow card in the first leg, they'll be suspended for the second leg. Carlo Ancelotti was asked about this in the press conference today, and his response was he doesn't want any of the players thinking about the yellow cards. He wants them to be playing with 100% focus on the match, that any of the players get a yellow card, that they're secondary options who can slot in for the second leg. The biggest takeaways from the press conference today, Mikel Arteta said that he wants all the Arsenal fans to arrive early for the game. He doesn't want the fans to watch. He wants them fully engaged, helping the team win the match. He wants to create a very hostile environment within the Emirates. So this is going to be a very difficult match for Real Madrid. And that's why in the press conference, Carlo Ancelotti said that what's going to help Real Madrid win this game, a little bit of the opposite of what Arteta said. Ancelotti said that what's going to help Real Madrid is calmness and experience in the Champions League. That is ultimately what's going to help Real Madrid make it across the finish line. And you can already see the difference in temperament between these two managers. Carlo Ancelotti focuses on calmness, tranquility, and being able to ride those waves during those difficult moments. During Thibaut Courtois' press conference, he did talk about a few tactical things. The first thing that he mentioned, Thibaut Courtois, was that at Valdebebas, before traveling to London, that they did an entire training session specifically around set pieces. That there was an emphasis and a focus specifically around how to defend set pieces. He spoke about Arsenal's routine of how they take set pieces and how they try to block the keeper and how he needs to be prepared for that and anticipate where the ball is going to be. And he said that that's something that they focus on and trained on in the training ground before they traveled to London. Based on the comments that Courtois made in the press conference, it's clear that he had a lot of film and videotape of Arsenal's set-piece routine. You could tell that Carlo Ancelotti's training staff, they spent a lot of time studying Arsenal's set-piece taking. But when Carlo Ancelotti was asked about this in the press conference, Carlo Ancelotti said that Real Madrid has scored in their last 3 games from set pieces. They've had a lot of success in the offensive side of things, converting set pieces, but he did say that they need to focus on the defensive side of the game. Obviously, this is a game where you have Tchouaméni suspended for the first leg, and he's obviously a very key figure when it comes to defending set pieces. It's going to be very important for Rüdiger not to pick up a yellow because in that second leg of the Bernabeu, he's going to be needed to defend those set pieces. But another really key thing that Thibaut Courtois alluded to was instead of trying to defend set pieces, he said we need to be very concentrated and prevent ourselves from being in a situation where we're having to defend set pieces. So that has been another key area for Real Madrid to focus on in the preparation for this game, which is not only defending set pieces, but not putting yourself in a situation where you're having to defend, 7, 8 corner kicks or set pieces against Arsenal. But the biggest question still remains is what is Carlo Ancelotti going to do with the midfield? What is he going to do with the defensive line? I've heard different things, everything from Fran Garcia starting at left back to David Alaba. And the latest rumors I've heard is maybe even Fede Valverde playing at left back. The biggest threat for Arsenal is Bukayo Saka combining with the Martin Odegaard on that side. So theoretically, it could make sense to play Fede Valverde at left back specifically for this game, given the fact that Ferland Mendy is out and you don't really have a solid backup option that is a little bit more of a defensive profile. Fran Garcia has proven himself to be a pretty good defender going forward, but his defensive instinct are not up there, and putting him against what would be his biggest test of the season is not a very favorable situation. Camavinga obviously didn't do very well against Kubo. David Alaba, we all thought his side for Real Sociedad, looked like he scored a double in his first game for Real Sociedad. David Alaba has not been up to par defensively since coming back from his ACL injury. He tore his ACL into his 30s, a player who broke into the scene at a very young age. So no surprise we're seeing physical deterioration from David Alaba. From a ball progression standpoint, yes, David Alaba still has it in terms of progressing the ball forward. But in terms of defensive focus and being able to stop Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard, I don't know that David Alaba is the right answer in this game. The other thing is, what is Carlo Ancelotti going to do in the midfield? It looks like Luka Modric is likely to start with Camavinga in the midfield. Carlo Ancelotti may look to prioritize Luka Modric in this game simply of the fact that obviously Ceballos is out. And Luka Modric provides you with that experience. And as I mentioned in the press conference, Carlo Ancelotti did say that one of the things that's going to help Real Madrid win this game is that experience and pedigree in the Champions League. And nobody has more experience and pedigree than Luka Modric. When you look at the profile of the players that play for Arsenal, you're talking about Mikel Merino, you're talking about Martin Odegaard, Declan Rice. These guys are pressing machines. These are guys that are used to pressing very high up the pitch in the Premier League. So having a guy like Luka Modric who has that experience, obviously doesn't have the physicality any longer. Being 39, almost 40 years old, it does not have what it takes to really compete with these guys on a physical level. But in terms of evading their press, Luka Modric can offer you quite a bit in being able to do that. From an Arsenal perspective, it looks like Kivior and Saliba are going to start as the two center backs with Timber and Skelly as the back line. And again, I talked about this in the preview tactical video. Skelly against Rodrigo is a very favorable matchup for Real Madrid. And although Vinicius has not had his best season so far in La Liga, overall in the Champions League, when you look at his production, it's been pretty solid. He's done pretty well in a lot of the games in the Champions League. So the matchup against Timber is going to be a big test for Vinicius. That's all I got for this one. I'll be doing a reaction immediately after the game. I have a podcast prepared with myself and Michael Feeney, so make sure you guys stay tuned to that. Immediately following the game, we'll be going live to provide our immediate reaction to the match, so make sure you stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Hala Madrid.